we still can't land it! Penguinopolis has been up there for a week! How long before we can get the anti-grav fields and dampeners working? I can't understand what's taking so damn long. Penguinopolis is a technological marvel. I designed the concept myself. Excuses! Penguinopolis looks silly just tethered to the towers as it is. It's embarrassing. It's supposed to be the symbol of the Penguin Union's power and prosperity. I suppose I'm micromanaging here. I guess since I can't actually help the situation, I felt like this would be doing something. Alright. Thank you for your work. I'll go do something that's more in my purview. No, I'm gonna review some anime. Hiya! I'm Mike, Penguin Truth, and welcome to another episode of Otaku Evolution. This week, we'll be taking a look at an anime I first watched in my formative years as an anime geek, Dominion Tank Police. The Sci-Fi Channel's Saturday anime block. Not quite as popular as Toonami or Adult Swim, but not as obscure as the Action Channel's anime block. It's on this block that I first saw titles like Akira, Armitage, 8-Man After, Project Geico, Robot Carnival, X, Venus Wars, Iria, and the first Tenchi movie. Looking back, most of those were kind of garbage, but a few still hold up, and I think Tank Police might be among them. Tank Police is based off the manga simply called Dominion by Masamune Shirow. Its single volume was very briefly available in North America from Dark Horse, but good luck finding that thing. You can put the manga out of your mind anyway, as with most Shiro adaptations, the anime just kind of uses the basic premise and characters, and does its own thing. That aside, instead of just recapping the whole 4-part OVA, I thought I might take a look specifically at the elements of satire in Tank Police, which is in part a hilarious send-up of the increasingly ludicrousness of the macho supercop image of the 80s action hero, and the gradual callousness by which we treat hyperviolence and tolerate police overzealousness. At least, I think that's what's going on here. You see, it seems like the people who wrote and animated it have a hard time deciding whether or not Splosion City is a thing to be avoided or is really wizard. Or maybe both. Seriously, there's more collateral damage in this than 3 Michael Bay flicks plus half a Zack Snyder movie. In the future year of, whenever, it's your typical cynical dystopia, with air so polluted that the people of Newport City wear gas masks, as to not die. So kind of like today's China. Criminals are as brazen as they are incompetent, and justice is meted out by folks that are, well, not a whole lot better than the crooks themselves. In fact, they might be worse in some cases. They have a certain talent for, let's say, colorful interrogation tactics. I think this is what American police will be like in a few years.
Speaking scientifically, the bucket falls over when it's hit by a ball. The string is pulled tight, pulling the pin out of the grenade stuffed in the suspect's mouth, which leads to certain results. Oh.
4! Try it one more time, Specs. God's too busy to be kept waiting for this sinner.
Hell, I've had my turn. Ow! come here and see if you can get a hole in one.
Yep.
Lieutenant, are we supposed to question suspects this way? Is this by the book, Lieutenant?
Listen, kid, there's two things a policeman needs. He's gotta be smart and he's gotta have balls.
A new officer is assigned to the tank police, the neophyte Leona, transferring from the motorcycle unit. The boys' club is immediately flummoxed, the macho bastard Captain Brenton especially. While he seems resigned to taking her on at first, the tank maniac squad leader goes ballistic when she wrecks his custom giant tank while pursuing the main antagonist, the Bwaku gang. Even though Brenton wants her off the team, Leona is determined to make herself useful, so she and Al, use the pieces of the behemoth tank and construct something a little more to her specifications. Thus is born Bonaparte, the little tank that could, which is operated by the two of them. Showing off how awesome her little tank is, Leona eventually fits in and the tank police take on the Bwaku gang as they level most of the city. Insert your own Man of Steel joke, but I actually enjoy that movie. Now everything inherent to your 1980s police action movie is here, with the exception of being killed 2 days until retirement. The mayor is constantly berating the tank police for their casual destruction of property while in pursuit of, frankly, mostly pretty petty criminals that shouldn't require tanks to apprehend. She's entirely in the right from any logical perspective, but the show frames her as being too much of a bleeding heart who's too soft on crime. The chief of the tank police is your usual shouting maniac, who is a second away from calling his subordinates loose cannons, although he can be just as overzealous as they are. Brenton sees himself as this ultimate masculine tough guy, but he's prone to fits and depression in a way that makes him seem like ever the parody of the Dirty Harry type, barely holding it together.
That's it. I'll kill myself. It's the only answer. I'll show the bastard which of us has got guts.
Hey, don't be such a fool.
But I am a fool, a complete fool, remember?
Hey, Lieutenant, I got every sympathy with your emotional problems, but right now we gotta concentrate on rescuing Leona.
Damn right we have, damn right. Let's go, tank police. Try!
But is tank police actually critiquing these tropes? Or is it reveling in them? That's a difficult question. I think perhaps both? And because it's both, it's kind of an uneven satire. Take, for instance, the inclusion of a character only known as Chaplin, the eager Ned Flanders supercop who speaks like he was reading the passages in scripture he's only recently made up because the voices in his head told him to. He's supposedly this devoutly religious guy, and he's certainly kind and patient to his fellow officers. But he's also this blazing hypocrite who takes just as much delight in the torture of criminals as the rest of the group. This is certainly intended to poke fun at the hypocrisy of religious adherents who nevertheless condone excessive force, right? Well, it's hard to tell because Chaplin's character is barely examined. He's just kind of there. The show wants you to think he's one of the heroes, but he's not even conflicted in his actions, even spiritually. Speaking of hypocrisy, the tank police in general are prone to sudden disgust over the single-minded overzealousness of the Red Commandos in the second arc, or critical of Bwaku and his gang's actions, but only in the sense that they see it as competition. Now that has to be intentional satire, right?
At least admit the screw-up is due to your bitch going over to the enemy.
My bitch never did that. The bitch was taken hostage, exactly as I told you. Don't forget you ain't nothing but a bunch of trigger-happy jerks with designer masks and inflated chests. You got no right to shoot up the city sewers. Only the tank police got the right to do that. We ought to take you down to headquarters for a little questioning.
In the first arc, Bwaku and the Puma twins are only trying to steal urine samples from a laboratory and don't even become truly threatening until they match the tank police with their own tanks. Most of the time they're dangerous, sure, but the overkill of the tank police has to be a wink to the viewer on police brutality, right? Though I guess the Bwaku gang did escalate the violence with the ultimate deterrent.
Seems that our encounter with them has come to a suitable climax.
I suppose you need a rest after that.
I'll show you who needs a rest.
Don't worry, they're programmed to deflate back down once they've done their job. But be careful, because it's quite simple to reactivate them. They can jump up anytime.
You can keep them down with a nice cold shower. Why not see if your girlfriends can help?
As I mentioned, there's so much here screaming of the same kind of social criticism you can see in, say, the original RoboCop. In that movie, you see all kinds of knowing jabs at media, corporations, government, and even at the tropes of other action movies with its hilariously over-the-top violence that falls into self-parody. The city of Detroit in RoboCop has completely divorced its sense of outrage from the onslaught of horrible death and decay, and the equally disproportionate response. Tank Police 2 has all the markings of a satire of police militarization, with how our so-called heroes are little better than the crime they fight, but it does a little too much reveling in how great the action is, and in the suffering of the nominal bad guys. It's trying to have it all. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Just like I can't get over the pronunciation of the word urine.
Tell me, Doctor, is there any intrinsic value in this urine? Otaku and his gang broke in here to try and steal urine samples, but so, as long as patients drink, there'll be no lack of new urine. Great, keep it strictly to talk about urine samples.
We want those urine samples.
And when I eat in the lab surrounded by urine samples, it makes me throw up.
Come on, I know the voice actors are British, but who pronounces it that way? Since the second arc revolves more around the Otaku gang than the first, I put off talking about them until now. The central figures in the group are the artificial humans Otaku and the Puma sisters Annie and Uni. On the surface, Otaku is a petty and angry thug without much to him, but episodes 3 and 4 examine his background, created in a lab as a partial copy of a figure known only as Greenpeace, in an attempt to breed life forms that are immune to the ubiquitous toxic cloud in Newport. The government caught on to the mad science going on, killed the scientists, and shipped the degenerate creations off to be disposed of. Otaku, more cognizant than the others, managed to get away, but was essentially forced into a life of crime. The second arc sees him desperate to gain a picture of himself before his life of crime, encoded with the data from the project by the scientists. The Puma twins are Otaku's right and left hand henchwomen, with the love for the finer things in life, and a knack for the, let's say, coarser things.
Bye, fellas.
It's actually Otaku, not Leona, Al, or Brenton, who gets the most character development by the final episode, though it's in a plot that ends up being really weird and largely unexplained. It could even be called heavy-handed for something that, up until that point, had been largely comedic. But I like when a show can shift a little to show that it has some real storytelling potential. Leona too does get a bit of space away from the others, as she's dependent on an ailing Otaku to release her from a device stuck on her, and ends up seeing the crook's humanity. In the process, Leona learns that not everything is black and white.
I learned something. Yesterday's gone.
Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. It'll soon be here. Sorry about that. You'd think I'd learned my lesson way back in that Metropolis review. It'll be better than before. Okay, I've already hinted at it, but I feel like Leona Onzaki is basically the prototype of Noa Izumi from Patlabor, with Al being kind of a more naive Asuma Shinohara. Bonaparte is to Leona what Alphonse is to Noah, and they're both part of a police unit of misfits who tend to do a lot of collateral damage. Patlabor is a lot sharper and more sophisticated than Tank Police, at least this first OVA, but they can both do wacky antics, compelling action, character drama, and satire pretty well. While Masamune's manga came before Masami Yuki's, they're both alike and different enough to be their own separate phenomenon with interesting parallels. I don't think we'll be seeing Mamoru Oshii doing any Tank Police movies, though. Much like Patlabor, the humor in Tank Police can be very clever and biting, but it's usually straight-up slapstick and funny faces, which can be tiresome if done badly and for too long, but it's only 4 episodes, so it rarely exhausts. Just watching Brenton's meltdowns is enough to put me in stitches, and it's probably the main source of humor for a lot of scenes. But the humor does miss the mark now and then, such as this overly long gag in episode 3 during the shootout with Bwaku's gang and the bounty hunter Red Commando Squad. It starts out funny enough with Bwaku stuck in a line of fire between the Puma twins and the Commando, but they keep dragging out the detonation of the explosive behind him for the punchline.
You can use your Bible if you have to fight.
I don't know if I brought it. Yeah, it's right here. I got it.
You should have enough strength to use it, but if we keep the only spray can containing antidote, that gives you a real strong hand against an attacker.
Anapuna, you're right. I gotta get out of here. That stab wound really hurts. Oh, what am I doing going without this? Strange.
Compare that to the next scene where Leona and Al head into the museum in Bonaparte to check on the firefight inside. The place is a mess with many pieces of art damaged. A lone computer muses on the fragility of pieces of art which must one day inevitably become garbage. Then that computer too is immediately destroyed by Bonaparte as it rolls through the museum. On the surface it almost seems like a non sequitur. What does the value of art have to do with Tank Police? Well, it's almost a commentary in itself on the vulnerability of physical expression in an art form, and technology can likewise be considered a work of man the way art is. Bwaku is desperate to get the picture to remind himself of a time when he was innocent, but the picture itself is both art and technology, and is every bit as fragile and temporary no matter how well it's made. Or it's just the casual throwaway visual gag about how destructive everybody in this is. Either way, it elicits a chuckle from me. It's little moments like that that makes Tank Police hold up better than your Project A-Co's or your Golf Forces. It can be lowbrow, but it can also be kind of subversive. And maybe that's why the whole have your cake and eat it too approach to satire and it bothers me a little. But, because it's entertainment, naturally it follows that it itself must entertain, not just lecture. And Tank Police never lacks for entertainment. Before wrapping up, I just want to make mention of the music in Dominion Tank Police. For whatever reason, the licensor decided to not only replace the opening theme song with some electronic dance number, but also some, but strangely not all, of the background music throughout the episodes. I'm not going to go into a big rant about the disrespectfulness of replacement music now, but I will say that I'm not a fan of the practice. That being said, however, the new music isn't half bad, and they still use the Japanese opening every other episode. On that again when I talk about the dub in general in my mid-year dub review, but I want to note it beforehand as to not give the impression I've forgotten or didn't know about it. It is a little odd how inconsistent they were, though. Overall, while it can feel incomplete and self-indulgent, Tank Police is a blast to watch or revisit. Maybe in the end it's more parody than satire, but whatever you can count it, it counts for enough, because it's super fun. Will I cover New Dominion Tank Police? Only time will tell. But next time on Otaku Evolution, I'm going to take you to school. And forget teacher's dirty looks, she's got a whole lot more in her arsenal. Until then, see ya!
What's going on, huh?
Pater's brought us on vacation for a month on the Côte d'Azur, mornings lying on the beach, then tennis, then glorious nights of violent passion. It's all such an unutterable bore. Where will I find fulfillment? Father lusts after my sister, mother goes mad in the Nordic winter, and me? What do I have to live for except the joy of suicide?
Cut it out!